Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia. Welcome and welcome. Today is Tuesday, and as always, it is the hour of politics with me, Anthony C.A., your host. Welcome to our broadcast. The last time we were here, we had a special edition of the hour of politics with the general, the man, Rabo Monsieur Kwade. In today's edition, we have activist Martin K. and Kollie. Martin K. and Kollie is a Liberian. He is an activist, an emerging economist. He is an advocate as well, and we are in an exclusive with him at this hour here at Focus on Liberia. Folks in cyberspace, welcome. Hit that share button quickly. Do that usual favor for us. We have a lot of business to take care of. In this edition of the Hour of Politics, we are looking at our country, Liberia, under the leadership of Samuel Twe. By that we mean Samuel Twe is the Chief Fiscal Officer of the Republic of Liberia. He holds a consequential position. He advises the president on fiscal issues in Liberia. Folks, how are we doing in the country economically? I asked somebody, and the person told me Liberia is operating on a budget far less than $600 million. That gotta be voodoo economics. And I have a student of economics here, and he will be propounding the issue and disagreeing with the government policy when necessary. And so, folks, this is where you want to be here at the Hour of Politics, where we discuss the issue responsibly and with the facts. I have my guest. I will now welcome him. Martin K. and Kollie, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Ansoni C. I also want to say thanks to the entire team at Focus on Liberia for the great job you continue to do in the best interest of our country. I admonish you to keep it up. For tomorrow, we are optimistic of a better Liberia. I also want to salute all Liberians across the world, specifically in Liberia. All is not lost. We must remain resilient as a people and a nation because Liberia shall rise again. Thanks once more for the invite. It is always my pleasure.
Martin K. and Kollie, that sounding optimistic despite of the challenges that we face as a country. He said the country will rise. But hey, is that far from the truth? When would that happen? But Martin, let's get started here. I know we are trying to discuss Liberia on Samuel 12, but there is two major issues in Liberia right now relating to deaths. The four auditors and the three boys that are amazing. Some time ago, you brought to the attention of the Liberian people, based on information you received, that they are still alive. So, starting with the auditors' death, give us a little update, 2 minutes on each of those. Where are we with the investigation concerning the deaths of the auditors?
Thank you, Mr. CA. Let me inform the Liberian people that the government of Liberia, under the leadership of President George Manuel Weah, has demonstrated non-compliance, insensitivity to the urgency for justice. Liberians everywhere are yearning for justice for those four auditors. Unfortunately, it will interest you to know that the government has not demonstrated leadership in times like these. You have been following the trend of activities in Liberia. The situation took place since the 2nd of October. Today is the 27th of October. We have now seen a preliminary report, least to mention a conclusive outcome of whatever investigation that the government has claimed it is carrying out. You are aware, President Weah, quote unquote, wrote the US government to intervene. Where is the formal communication that his government wrote to the embassy near Monrovia or the U.S. State Department. No one has seen that as well. The Justice Ministry announced a forensic investigation. How far is the forensic investigation? In fact, how can you hire the services of clinical pathologists to conduct forensic autopsy? Complete contradiction, Mr. Sear. So there are too many contradictions that I could highlight relative to the mysterious death of these auditors. But let the Liberian people be aware, no matter what the circumstances are, we are resolved to dig at the bottom of this misery. This misery must be unraveled. The government is a party to this crime. The government has become a pathological liar in terms of handling this matter. That's why the families had to withdraw. The 4 families withdrew because of the manner and form in which the government is handling the case. Like I said initially, the government cannot be the referee at the same time the player. The government stands as the accused in this matter. So how can you investigate yourself? How can the government be the plaintiff, the accused, at the same time the defendant? It makes no sense. This is why we are calling on the international community through the United Nations, ECOWAS, European Union, African Union, and the U.S. Embassy near Monrovia to bring pressure to bear on the we-are-led government so that together we can find out what actually happened to those auditors. But in my opinion, and in the opinion of the Liberian people, those auditors were gruesomely murdered by hired assassins. Under the supervision of the government of Liberia.
And Martin, quickly, I know you said the government indicated to the Liberian people that it had asked the U.S. government through its embassy near Monrovia to intervene or help with the investigation, and you are saying that is more than far from the truth because there's no evidence. So are you saying that the government is not telling the truth, that it has invited the Americans to help with the investigation because there's no letter to that effect? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And the Liberian people are aware of this gimmick. It is an entire conspiracy, not only against those 4 auditors, but against the ultimate interest of the Liberian people. Because you're talking about 4 professional Liberians here who were contributing their quota to the national development drive of the country. And their lives were snatched just in a period of 8 days, Mr. C. Doesn't that bother the country? Doesn't that bother the continent and the world for 4 auditors to die in less than 8 days?
Go ahead, Martin. Martin might be having some technical difficulty as his hand there.
After conducting a very critical, so any rational person would think that the government anti-graft investigators. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Everybody knows that the government stands as the accused in this matter. Standing as the accused in this matter, you cannot investigate it yourself. What will it take for the government to hire international forensic pathologists? It just costs us 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 for us to get at the bottom of this thing. Mr. C, one disadvantage or demerit that is likely to happen or that is palpable is the fact that if we do not get at the bottom of this misery, other Liberian professionals will be afraid to uncover, detect, and reveal corrupt practices in public services. And that will undermine the democratic process of the country as well as the accountability framework. So we are saying, in order for anti-graft petitioners, in order for pro-examiners to not be afraid of fighting as a result of this latest measure, we need to seek justice in behalf of Gifty, Albert, Emmanuel, and Famboto. Even Matthew Innes, who died from the central bank. We need to see justice for these auditors because they were doing a piece of job in the national interest. So if we cannot seek justice for them, it means that we are not setting the best deterrents. Other auditors will not be in the position to expose corruption. Other auditors will not be in the position to reveal hidden truths. Other auditors will not be in the position to tell the Liberian people about how their resources are being siphoned, abused, and mismanaged by the WIA gang. This is the time, Mr. C. No other time than this. So what the WIA-led government is doing is what I describe as a gimmick.
Mountain, two things quickly. Our information is that you were privileged to have received a copy of an audit report, I believe from the IAA. First of all, we want to know what is in there, and is it indicting of the Liberian government? Is the government hiding something? Because I think the editor rather of the Para newspaper, he alarmed sometime that he was being pursued and now he's out of the country. Our understanding is that he had that report in his possession. What is in that report that you know?
Thank you, Mr. C. The first notation I want to make is the fact that this audit report in my possession was the death sentence of those 4 auditors. They died because they could not compromise their ideals and principles at the expense of the national interest. They died because they could not succumb to corruption, ill accountability, and fraud. They died because they could not agree with Minister Tue and others to undermine the national interest. So this other report I'm about to reveal its content was the death sentence of Amboto, Emmanuel Niswa, Gifty Lama, as well as Abra Peters. Let's go to the executive summary quickly because it is a 44-page report. We'll not be able to go through everything, but the executive summary says it all.
Okay.
Now, when you look at the executive summary quickly, there are 12 different pointers, and these pointers summarize the content and context of the report. The first thing the report talked about: no evidence of approval for $48,637,711 COVID-19 national response budget. Can you imagine? This report is damaging, Mr. C.
No,
we are talking
evidence.
about 48.6.
No evidence of approval for 48.6
million. Can you imagine? Yeah, just in a period of 5 months, from February to June. No trace, no evidence. Whoever approved 48.6 million, nobody knows. Where did they go? Nobody knows. In a period of 5 months. You see how corrupt the establishment is? The society has degenerated, Mr. C, into something else under the WIA-led government. Where are we going as a country?
Wow. Matthew, that is outstanding. That $48.6 million. There's no evidence whatsoever who did approve it in the first place before talking about its whereabouts. And earlier you used the word talk, and you were referring to President Weah's able lieutenants or deputies. I mean, that is a tough word. What is said about us Liberians now when we know something against others and we call them names? So why you think that is necessary to do so, Mountain?
Come again?
I said, why is it now becoming a culture in Liberian politics that when there is some policy disagreement with people in government, we label them with names? You just classify we are deputies as thugs.
They are not only thugs, but they are economic gangsters.
And why you say that?
Now, because they did not come to serve, but to steal. They did not come to lead, but to loot. And the pieces of evidence can prove our conclusion, which is more than rational. Look at the situation of the country right now, Mr. C. I gave you an instance relative to this report. I'm going to send you a copy of this report, 44 pages. When you go through this report, Mr. C, you will agree with us that there is no need for anything called the WIA-led government. The WIA-led government is as useless and spineless than anything. How can you deprive the country of 48.6 million in a period of 5 months because of your own insatiable greed at the expense of the ordinary people? Look at the lives our people are living in Liberia. They have become mere beggars. The people didn't even know that such a money was in the country from February to June. Look at the height of misery. Look at the height of poverty. Look at the height of unemployment in the country. And people sit there in San Fun, 48.6 million. Look at what they did with the issue of the hotels again. Let me give you an instance.
Okay.
They hired the services of 12 local hotels. In the real sense of the word, those are not even hotels. Those are motels, or those are inns. They are not even hotels. You're talking about Kalano. Kalano Hotel is an inn. It's not even an hotel. Less than a hotel. They hired the services of 12 hotels, right? Mm-hmm. You're talking about Executive Inn. Executive Inn is owned by Kalano, Josh Kalano, a member of the CDC. He also owns Kalano Hotel. Guess what, Mr. C? Hello?
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in a period of just 2 months, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. In a period of just 2 months, we spent on those hotels more than 1.3 million United States dollars. For the issue of Kalano Hotel, Kalano Hotel has less than 15 rooms. The hotel he has on Oro, less than 15 rooms. But we gave him 200,000 United States dollars in 2 months. For what? Just to host COVID-19 patients who were coming out of the country at that time. He also has Executive Inc. Do you know how much we gave him in 2 months? 185,000. So Kalano got almost $500,000 just from his 2 hotels, simply because of his alignment and proximity to the regime. Is this not economic sabotage? What other definition would be best?
So Mountain,
in terms of describing this scandal?
What other areas this report you have in your possession cover? I know you talk about COVID-19. Are there other areas or other things that the report cover that, from your reading?
They talk about unauthorized transactions, which did not meet the minimum standards of the PPCC, Public Procurement Concession Commission law. If you look at the report, Mr. Sier, there are a lot of provisions in the report pointing towards fraud, non-compliance to financial principles and rules as per the PPCC law. People were just spending money without authorization. Let me give you a few instances. Let's go to itemized number 3. Mm-hmm. Concealment of concealment of 71,500 United States dollars transaction. So the other money by is free. 71,500 United States dollars. Somebody just took it and snatched it away. Nobody can see it. Let's go to the next. No evidence of liquidation report for cash advances valued $7,261 and $2,900,800 Liberian dollars.
2 million.
So there is no evidence. There is no evidence of these exorbitant amounts, Mr. C. So who took them away? What were they used for? Were they used for the intended purpose? The answer is no. Let's go further. Payments made without valid contracts and receipts. These people are corrupt. Then they say overstated contracts value $84,880. So they went into contractual agreements with some companies and firms. Mm-hmm. They overstated the amounts of those contracts. You see how unpatriotic they are? You see how unnationalistic these people are? You think these people came to serve? They didn't come to serve. They came to steal. That's who they are. The we are led government is an arrogant cartel. It's an arrogant cartel of looters and killers.
But
and the reality is not improved.
The government is the proper government. There is a picture on social media now that is trending, and I displayed it on the screen earlier. It is more like I think it's a dead body that is being transported on a motorcycle because the motorcycle does not have the capacity to carry a body lying down. The body was erected on the bike. It's like they had a stake and then they tied the body on it to transport that body. And you are talking about for the $8.6 million, no evidence, no trace whatsoever in our country. And the poor people of Liberia, they don't even have ambulance to transport the dead. Is there proper working or not?
In the first place, Mr. C, those who are postulating the concept proper do not understand this concept. You know, this is a concept that comes from what I call development literature. There's something called development literature.
Martin, are you there? All right, folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is the hour of politics with me, Anthony Sie. We are in
And this same
conversation
propo
with.
is being used
Mhm.
from ace to the poor, right? It is a concept, but those in power just run with this concept. Oh, we are as a capitalist. How can a capitalist draft a proper agenda successfully? You know who drove the proper agenda in Africa, Mr. Sie?
I
It
heard
was,
about
it,
Thomas Sankara.
thank you very much. It
Mhm.
was Thomas Sankara who popularized this particular concept in Africa. And he used a ride bicycle. Bicycle. His total monthly earning was between 500 US and 600. But look at the budget of we are the poor president getting a budget of 10.8 million in this 21st century when Liberia is the poorest country in the world. That's deprivation, economic deprivation. For one person to get 10.8 million, then he gave his wife 700,000 of our taxes. Then he gave his personal security guard 7.1 million of our taxes. Then he gave NSA 7.8 million. For what, Mr. C? So if you do an accumulation of what we are gets per annual from our national budget, you're talking about 30 million. While the people are suffering, schools are closing, hospitals are closing, like you said, no ambulances. Our people have to ride bikes to travel far distances to seek medication or Medicare. So where are we going as a country? The country has zero leadership. Zero leadership. And the zero is in capital letters.
All right, Martin.
Zero leadership.
Thank you, Martin. We want you to update our listeners on this missing boys. They were reported drowned. And then later on, we are hearing that they are actually not dead yet. So, what is the latest that you have in St. Moses being in the center of it all?
Thank you, Mr. C. You know, when I went live last night,
Mhm.
the regime through NSA, this is a fact that cannot be challenged or opposed. The regime through NSA chose to disrupt the live podcast. They did not want me to inform our people. They did not want me to provide the authenticity of this misery. So what did they do? They decided to disrupt. And they disrupted continuously. I had to come back on 2 different times. Every time I came on, they would disrupt and the video would go off. However, we managed to have informed our people duly about the situation and where are we currently. I'm in contact with the family, right? What is unfolding right now? The boys are not dead, they are alive, but the government wants to play politics. The government has a link to this situation. This is a fight that has been established. And this situation is deeper than you know, than you can see. It's far deeper, Mr. C.
Yeah, but Martin, before we get to the government connection you're talking about there, I mean, what is the evidence now that the boys are alive? Anything that you have laid your hands on that shows that they
Yeah,
are actually
I,
alive?
I played an audio yesterday on my podcast.
Okay.
There were 2 characters in that audio.
Mm-hmm.
The father of the deceased,
Mm-hmm.
his name is Robert Blamo, and the accused ritualist, Moses Bohui. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. So 2 of them were having this conversation, and the father said, the boys are alive. And they confided in me also that they will have to do a formal communication to the Ministry of Internal Affairs,
Okay.
seeking permit or clearance so that the boys can be released. So what we want to say here to the government of Liberia, no matter how long it takes, no matter how complex the situations are, those boys must be released. They are not dead, they are alive. The father was in Henry Bon County discussing with traditional leaders and the town people, and they concluded that the boys are not dead, they are alive. But it will take the intervention of the Ministry of Internal Affairs to issue a formal permit before the boys are released. So that's the latest. As I speak
So
to you,
how is the government connected to this, disappearance of these boys that are now stay alive, given what you're being told? I mean, how's the government connected in any way?
the first thing is, I listened to the police director. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the police director and the police spokesman. The police spokesman said from the very onset that the boys were dead,
Mm-hmm.
even though there was no medical examination or report to prove that the boys were dead. But this is a whole concocted scheme. It's a conspiracy to institutionalize ritualistic killing in the country.
But
And
Martin,
we are going to
apparently the police
we,
spokesman was talking about information that was given to him that the boys, actually got drowned. So,
but let me say this. Then it
mm,
means that the police spokesman does not understand his function as a professional policeman. It is
mm.
not your responsibility to pronounce someone dead. No. Whose responsibility? A medical doctor that is authorized by the state to perform such examination. Even
Martin,
if
I
a
believe
person
I said
dies,
they were not being seen yet, or they couldn't locate them at the time. But he said that yes, he could confirm that, given what he was told, that they were dead because they got drowned, and their bodies could not be found at the time.
but the thing is, his conclusion was just irrational.
Mhm.
His conclusion was just irrational. It was never judicious. And conclusions of police officers, least
Mhm.
to mention police director, police spokesman, should be
Right.
judicial, scrupulous, and rational. You don't just speak on grave issues and matters in a reckless and wild manner. No, because the public is listening to you. Anything the police spokesman says, it becomes a policy. These people need to understand professional ethics and principles. How will you say the boys are dead? You didn't conduct any form of investigation, no medical report. You are not even a medical doctor to pronounce whether somebody is dead or not. But you just jump on, oh, the boys are dead. The boys are dead because you were told to say the boys are dead.
But
So what I have to say to the police spokesman,
Martin, hold on.
what I have to say to the
Were there locals? Because at first we were told that they were dead, they got drowned. So I want to know whether some locals confirmed to the police authority at the time. Did anybody see the canoe getting capsized? I'm trying to look for something here that we can say, yeah, when they said they were dead, they were actually dead because this person saw them drowning or saw the canoe being capsized. Anything that were told or you heard about?
you see, Mr. C, everything St. Moses ever explained, right?
Right.
I describe those things he explained as Kano conspiracy or Kino conspiracy.
Okay.
Kino conspiracy. He talking about Kino capside. All these one people ran to him. He was in though his partner said, "Oh, the boys got drowned. The boys got drowned," and he's crying on those audios that are leaked.
Mm-hmm.
That's Kino conspiracy. Kino conspiracy, and we are not going to take that for an answer. No, the boys are not dead. On the very day he said the boys are dead, an investigative newspaper dispatched a team of journalists.
Okay.
Go and read the New Down newspaper. They interviewed town people, including the chief of the town. They
Okay.
said no kingdom capside, number one. Number two, nobody got drowned, contrary to what Moses said. So this is a syndicate. Moses is a partner to this government. You know why they have not arrested him yet?
No.
What he has done can be equated to trafficking, human trafficking. And human trafficking is a transnational crime. It cuts across borders. So people should understand their limits. The government should understand its function and mandate. But the government has refused to demonstrate its fiduciary responsibilities in line with the statutes of the land. So how can you describe that kind of government? An irresponsible government. If a government cannot provide
So,
security for
Martin,
you,
does it
the
mean
government cannot provide security for me, is
Martin,
that
does it
government a
mean
government?
Martin, does it mean that the police is yet to invite him for questioning or issued an arrest on him? Is he still walking around as a free man?
Guess what? You know, where I said I received direct information from the families of the 3 boys. Yeah. It was just the day he was invited. As I speak to you, he, along with the father of the deceased, Mr. Robert Blambo, are at the Central Police Station on Capitol Bypass.
Okay.
They are currently meeting with the police director. But the question is, should Steve Moses be meeting with police director to discuss what? The popular mandate right now is for the boys to be released. Steve Moses should be in handcuffed by now, behind bars, for lying on an oath, because he was asked. He was asked initially whether those boys actually got drowned or whether the boys were drowned.
Yeah.
And he said yes. So he lied.
That is true.
So that is equivalent to trafficking. He should be in handcuff by now. He should be in handcuff. But why is he not in handcuff? An attempt to put Moses in handcuff and behind bars, he will spill the beans. It's just beyond Moses. There are a lot of people involved with this thing.
What do you mean by he's going to spill the beans? Martin, what do you mean by he's going to spill the beans when he's arrested? What beans are you talking about?
He's going to expose higher ups and big shots, including the president himself. This is a whole syndicate.
Hold on.
If we begin to dig deeper and expose.
Hold on, Martin. The president of the republic, you are accusing him of being in the know about the disappearance of these boys, which was earlier reported that they were dead. You think the president has anything to do with this?
But do you know why? Do you know why Sir Moses' funeral parlor was chosen as the venue to conduct forensic autopsy for those 4 deceased auditors? Do you know why, Mr. C? Do you know why Mona Peno was taking
it's a funeral home that has been doing business in Liberia.
Yeah, but we have lab. Okay. We have a forensic lab, quote unquote, at the JFK. Why take autopsy to Sir Moses?
So tell me why they're doing that.
Do you know why Sir Moses has not been arrested by the government of Liberia?
No.
Do you know why Sir Moses was the very first person on the
Martin K and Kollie there having some difficulty at his end. Martin, did you say St. Moses was the first at the scene?
That day on Broad Street when the bodies of Gifty and Abba were discovered? Do you know what? It's to draw St. Moses. Embarrass my line again.
Martin, are you there? Again, folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. We are in an exclusive way. Activate Martin K and Kollie. We are discussing national issues. He has just updated us on the auditor's death and the reported death and now missing of the 3 boys. Yeah, Martin, I think we go. You can continue. But earlier you were saying that St. Moses was the first on the scene when Abbott and Gifty were found dead on Broad Street. Is that what you're saying?
Well, of course, yes. And I can prove it, I can confirm it. Then the question is, why was he the first? Why was he the first on the scene? Did he know initially that there would have been dead bodies or corpses of 2 auditors from the LRA? Did he really know? Yes, he knew. That's why he was the first on the scene. Why was he on the scene? See, Moses runs a funeral parlor at Topo Village. Topo Village is on the Somalia Drive along the Bananville Belt. The distance between Topo Village and Broad Street is very far. Dead bodies on Broad Street. See, Moses was the first on the scene. See, Moses should have waited at his funeral home. The family members wanted the dead bodies at his funeral home. They would have taken the dead, and not him coming to the body or for the body.
Well,
are you understanding, Mr.
Apparently, someone called him, Martin. How you got to know that he was the first there? Apparently, he was called.
Nobody called him. The first thing is when corpses are discovered or when mysterious deaths take place, they do not take those bodies immediately to funeral home. People have to understand the procedures and methodology in dealing with situations such as this. Now, if If somebody is mysteriously dead, they do not take the body of that person directly to funeral home. What happens is that body is taken to the hospital for investigation or post-mortem investigation, medical investigation.
Okay.
It is the hospital that reserves the authority vested in it to declare whether the person is dead or not. And when that declaration is made, a written certificate is issued by the Republic of Liberia on the signature of that hospital that has been authorized by the state. People have to know these common things. People have to know these common things. When that certificate is issued, then the families can decide where to take their corpses. But Gifty and Albert, all of a sudden they were found on Broad Street. They didn't even stay long with the first person who saw Simose. And they started running with the body to funeral home without the authorization of the family. In the great United States of America, where you are, Simose could be sued. The government of Liberia could be sued because the determination made right at that time was not in the purview of Simose to run with body to funeral home. It should have been in the purview of the family.
All right.
It should have been not even in the purview of the government. You know, so there are a lot of things taking place in the motherland that we must be able to nip in the bud. Or otherwise, that country we call Liberia might just be destroyed before 2023 under the zero leadership of President George Manuel Weah.
All right, Martin. Thank you so very much, Martin K. and Kollie. He's an activist, and we are in an exclusive interview with him here. Martin, so please use 1 minute to conclude on these two issues we just dealt with. The boys that were reported dead now, amazing. You said they are alive based on what you were told, and then the deaths of the auditor. 1 minute to conclude on this. My question that you have to answer in that 1 minute is, what do you think going to happen?
And what I think that is going to happen,
Mhm,
justice, accountability,
mhm,
fair play, transparency will be will be actualized or will prevail.
mhm,
That's why we are calling on the international community, our partners.
mhm.
If our friends want to stand with us, they must do now because this is the time we need them the most. If our friends believe in justice like we do, this is the time they must stand with the Liberian people. And I know they believe in justice. I know the ECOWAS believes in justice. I know the European Union believes in justice. I know the African Union believes in justice. The American people and the American government believe in justice. So they are going to assist us to get at the bottom of this national misery. Because this is a national misery. And this misery must be unraveled. It must be unraveled. Any attempt for this misery to not be unraveled, there will be legitimate fear across the Republic of Liberia. Everybody will be afraid. Fear will be instilled in our people, including public officials. Nobody will want to expose anything before they die. So you see where the country is about to go? You see where the country is about to descend, Mr. Sear? Because of our refusal to investigate this situation and get at the bottom of it, everybody will be afraid. Even if somebody steals 10 billion, the auditors will just say, you can carry it. We want our inside before they kill us. And the country will be deprived. The progress of the country will be undermined as a result of our refusal to seek justice in behalf of these auditors. So this is the time to call on our international partners to help us because we do not have the sophistication. We do not have the scientific sophistication to conduct forensic. They have, besides they having the sophistication, they have the resources. We cannot raise up to 65,000 for the 5,000 or 35,000 to hire a foreign pathologist or forensic pathologist to investigate. We don't have that capacity as individuals, right?
Mhm.
As individuals who want justice. The government doesn't want to do it. The government has the capacity, but because it is a party to this crime, they will not do it.
All right.
So that's why we call on the international community to help. That's all, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Martin K. and Colin there, giving his final words on the deaths of the auditors and also the boys that were reported dead, but now information coming through that they are alive. And negotiation right now is being made. The families of the boys are making effort to secure their children. Further, in the next segment of our show, now we will be talking about Finance Minister Samuel Tuer performance in Liberia. And this is what you need to do. You need to know why Samuel Tuer. Samuel Tuer is the Chief Fiscal Officer of the Republic. The economy of our country is more like in the hands of Samuel Tuer. Decisions that he's made based on the budget that has been drafted by the government. Samuel Tuer is the key player. Where we go from here economically, Samuel Tuer is the chief architect. Samuel Tuer is the chief fiscal officer of Liberia. He decides where we go from here economically in Liberia because he is also the head of the economic management team, a team that the country relies on to devise a plan, to come up with a plan for Liberia to recover from the economic mess that we find ourselves in. As you may be aware now, Liberia is challenged beyond measures economically. So if Samuel 12 were up to the task, we will be seeing good signs. In fact, it was reported at some point that if all is done well, Liberia will see a recovery of 0.4% sometime around 2024. Martin, you can correct me on that. And so that is why Samuel 12 performance need to be looked at. And we brought in Martin Kollie. Martin Kollie is a student of economics. He got his first degree in economics, and he has been doing a lot of research on the economic numbers, looking at the economic indicators in Liberia. So we will now bring in Samuel 12, look at his performance, and see what Martin has to say. Martin, a lot of issues about Samuel 12. First question, what is your assessment of his performance as the Chief Fiscal Officer of the Republic?
I just want to describe his performance in 2 words.
Okay.
Very poor.
Okay.
Very poor.
And why?
VP. His performance equates to VP. Very poor. Now, let's get to it. You see, Mr. Sear, when Mr. Weah got to power, when he assumed power, one of the first ministers that was appointed by his government was Samuel Tuer. Samuel Tuer, he was appointed as the Minister of Finance to control the fiscal arm of the government. And when you talk about fiscal arm, you're talking about government spending as well as taxes. Fiscal policy refers to 2 things. That be what people can hear fiscal policy. You talk about taxes, you talk about government spending. As a matter of fact, government spending is one of the components of growth. It's one of the components that drive growth. There are 4 components anyway, but as we go along, we'll break these things down for our people to understand. Okay. So, Samuel Tuer came to readjust, retool our macroeconomic fundamentals. When you talk about macroeconomic fundamentals, you're talking about conditions that influence, the economy positively. How do you deal with inflation, number 1? How do you deal with unemployment, number 2? How do you deal with low growth, number 3? Those are fundamentals of the economy that you have to retool or readjust. So the fundamental questions here are, number 1, how are we dealing with inflation? How are we dealing with inflation? That's why I said the other day on Small FM. I said what is affecting us right now is stagflation. Stagflation. If we can deal with stagflation, our economy can recover and rebound to a stable point. Because stagflation, you're dealing with inflation, you're dealing with unemployment, you're dealing with low growth. Those are the 3 things we need to deal with. If we deal with those 3 things, we are good. But Samuel Tuer moves from Hatay Center to Hatay Center, talking gibberish, spewing out invective against the opposition, with all understanding that he has a simple task to keep our economy afloat. During this COVID-19 period, our economy is the only economy in the world that was below 0%. We were going below 0%.
Fountain? All right,
negative 2.5. We are still growing below 0%. In fact, at the beginning of COVID, our growth released by the International Monetary Fund. Do you know what it is currently? Hello?
yeah, go ahead. Tell me the current growth rate, the projected current growth rate.
So we have left from negative 2.5 to negative 3.
What?
So we are at negative 3. So we keep going down. We keep shifting downward. So the point is, how do we get out of this situation? So if you ask me, how can we make? Because I said he has very poor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I saying very poor? This brings us to measuring his achievement to as opposed to his promises.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to measure his performance, you have to look at what he promised on one hand
Mm-hmm.
and what he has achieved on the other hand. That's evaluation right there. That's how to evaluate. So what did he promise? We will come to the fundamentals of the economy, but let's go to what the promise in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the PAPD.
All right.
All the promises are contained in the PAPD. Yeah, let's go to the PAPD. Specifically the economy. Okay, when you go to the PAPD contains over 168 pages. Let's go to the PAPD. There are 4 pillars of the PAPD. Yeah. Number 1, you have power to the people. Number 2, you have the economy and jobs. Number 3, you have sustaining the peace. Number 4, you have governance and transparency. So CDC said to us in 2017, look, my people, if you elect us, these are the 4 pillars that are going to drive growth and genuine national development. If you elect us, these are the 4 pillars that are going to improve your situation and give you better life. If you elect us, these are the 4 pillars that we are going to use as a magnetic driving force of promoting economic stability and recovery. Let's go to 2. Since we are discussing the economy, let's deal with the economy and jobs. Right. Pillar number 2. On pillar number 2, there are 12 promises. You know, for us who believe in the facts, we are not just talking offhand. We are holding them accountable for what they said yesterday. So they made 12 promises on pillar number 2, economy and job. Number 1, what did they say? They said, we will provide 1 million jobs in a period of 5 years. Can you imagine? 1 million jobs in a period of 5 years. And how many jobs have they provided in this year?
Well, that's why we brought you to tell our people. Tell us how many jobs.
Okay, let me tell our people. Mm-hmm. Let me tell our people now. Mm-hmm. Instead of them creating jobs, our people are losing their jobs. So they did not actually come to create jobs. They came to institute bar economic measures, in order for our people to lose their jobs. I gave you a few instances to prove my point. Okay. There have been downsizing exercises everywhere. Companies are shutting down. NGOs are shutting down. And as these establishments and firms shut down, our people lose their jobs. Jobs are being lost, or job losses are increasing. So, Firestone, M&G Go, Golden Verilo, Western Cluster, all these concession companies have downsized our people in a very huge number. So it is a contradiction. It doesn't make sense in any form or manner for Samuel 12 to say, oh, we will create 1 million jobs when our people are losing a job. I challenge them to tell me how many jobs they have created. Nobody will tell you. They cannot quantify this particular promise.
Mountain, one thing that was reported, the government started a loan scheme for petty traders in the country. My understanding is that Wisin Tape was providing some leadership there, as well as Jimama Wolo Kollie, and that money was intended to give, loan to petty traders. I think that was the government trying to create jobs, because my assumption is that maybe these people were going to establish businesses or grow their businesses and employ other people. Where are we with that? Do we have some numbers from that end?
Yeah, it was specifically on December 19, 2018 when this program was launched. It was launched by the president of Liberia through the Liberian Bank for Development and Infrastructure, LBDI. LBDI financed this 3 million loan scheme for SMEs, small, medium-term enterprises. That's why I said the other day, one of the practical steps we can take as a country is to empower SMEs, small, medium enterprises, because that's the bedrock of the economy. That's the bedrock that drives growth so very fast. So the CDC-led government chose to launch this program. They chose to invest 3 million in SMEs. But the question is, where is the 3 million as we speak? You heard the Kollie raising an alarm. Before the implementation of the process or the exercise, he will provide accountability. He will ensure that there is transparency. Where is the accountability? How many businesses have received this 3 million? None. I challenge them to show me the list of businesses that have received this 3 million that was given by the LBDI. They want to show you a single business like Twerk, and I even show you a single money exchanger that he gave out 25 million to. So their interest is just to loot the national coffers. They give you 3 million. They say, look, the 3 million we're giving you, our SMEs are struggling. So what do we do in the midst of economic downturn, in the midst of recession? Are you aware we are now having recession? Oh yes, 2 consecutive years of negative growth equates to recession in the context of economics. Last year, you had negative growth. This year, negative growth. So we are in recession. And if we are not careful, we will have another negative growth as of 2021. If those indicators that the World Bank and the IMF are pointing towards cannot work or be implemented by the government through fiscal and monetary means, it means that we will enter year 3 with negative growth. So in the midst of these things, where is the 3 million United States dollars? Nobody will tell you where is the 3 million United States dollars. Today, Jemama Kollie is a victim for raising an alarm about the 3 million victimized by the president, but she was victimized by her political party. They expelled her from the party and the president dismissed her. That's double jeopardy right there. So they can't account for 3 million. They can't account for 25 million. They can't account for 16 billion. The 30 million that was given as loan by the IMF for their quote-unquote food distribution exercise, up to date, the food distribution exercise has been halted. No hay, no tea. Nobody can tell you where the 30 million is. Look at the other 48.6 million again from the leak report of the IAA, for which those auditors were pushed from the budget. So the entire government is a fraud, in my opinion.
Mountain.
They are not going to drive growth as expected by the public or as predicted by the IMF and other international monetary funds.
Mountain, when the CDC government came to power, they said the recurring expenses was huge. And so in Mr. 12 wisdom, they brought something called harmonization. In their explanation, they wanted to look at like equal pay for equal work. If you are a driver, no matter which agency, they should make the same amount. And they said that was not the case, and that was, affecting the economy. So they implemented what they call harmonization policy. Let's listen to Samuel 12, making the case on these measures that they have put into place, to bring down or balance the payroll in Liberia. Let's listen to Samuel 12 there, and then we'll be right back.
Policy prescription. That's why it's going to be destroyed. You don't know that. That does not say, that does not tell me that I am against cutting salary. I am for cutting salary responsibly, sensibly. Banks are giving money. Banks take your money and give it to people who they believe they can repay. When you put your money in EcoBank take that money and give it to him, believing that he will pay. If he doesn't pay, your money leaves there. So if all of our money and a lawmaker can say, okay, I'm making 10,800, I want a loan of 200,000. The loan officer will calculate, say every year, this man, I know he guaranteed, say he died, but he's not going to die. So with the money, I had to get in the money, 200,000. Then harmonization can say 2,000 move on there. Amen. I see the thing that happened, the programming change, when it was doing harmonization, the banks were calling me. So for me, so you know the president are owing, I said, my man, you will call it to the point where you can save their money, it will be okay. We did that. Then somebody came again and said, we'll do another one. So technically, if somebody took, I know some people got 150, some people got 200,000. Because I'm dealing with the financial sector, so they tell me. So if somebody got 200,000, you know how much money they're taking from you? 3,900 at an interest rate of 12% for 6 years. You will get a 2,000 monthly, they will pay you 2,300. Your take won't pay, bank take the money from that, you will still be owing the bank. And the kind of proposal you said before anybody to consider seriously. And the kind of people who got here say making decisions for us, how we manage these people end up in those places. How we manage. I'm going to say here that I correct it. We want serious policy makers. We are for change. We don't want fake people to come and tell people misleading our people, lying to them all day. The policy discussion should be serious. We all want to change the country, but change the country against the facts. Let me just one thing. Even if you say lawmakers should make 1,000, let me ask you, it will reduce the lawmaker's salary to 1,000 US dollars. You don't believe that people will still go to them to ask them for money? People say they must still cut the people's salary. When the legislator's salary are cutting too much, they can go to the legislator for help. Those people who say they're cutting the legislator's salary, I have money in there, they cut it because the legislator get money, they don't put it after for anything. Don't you hear? Market money, you can't go there for them because the Minister of Finance, they have fought those people down, they're under pressure. Some of the people took loan, they ain't got money to pay the loan back. Do you hear? I'm a sad fee for them because the minister will be working with the president to cut. But when I look at the lawmakers sometimes, I feel sorry because I know what they're going through. So nobody will tell you about cut the salary. They have done a lot of good work. For the first time in the history of the country, you know what I mean for a lawmaker to cut their own pay? Who not do it? Who not be on the back? Who back? And the poor government. The reason is simple. We want more money. LEC. Let me tell you. The president ever though pay LEC bill. We only LEC, we're only LEC. The president paid the federal government debt. In April, the government approved for the first time in the history for only LEC. No money. Now, we are trying to find money to give LEC so LEC can print transformer for y'all. People say they must still cut the people's salary. When the legislator's salary are cutting too much, they can go to the legislator for help. Those people who say they're cutting the legislator's salary, I have money in there, they cut it because the legislator get money, they don't put it after for anything. Don't you hear? Market money, you can't go there for them because the Minister of Finance, they have fought those people down, they're under pressure. Some of the people took loan, they ain't got money to pay the loan back. Do you hear? I'm a sad fee for them because the minister will be working with the president to cut. But when I look at the lawmakers sometimes, I feel sorry because I know what they're going through. So nobody will tell you about cutting salary. They have done a lot of good work. For the first time in the history of the country, you know what I mean for a lawmaker to cut their own pay? Who not do it? Who not be on the back? Who back? And the poor government. The reason is simple. We want more money. LEC. Let me tell you. The president ever though pay LEC bill. We only LEC, we're only LEC. They will make it. and the people can mislead you. They won't fool you. The president went, they made a chairman of the Ways and Means Committee and the finance minister in the House of Representatives here. They cut the legislature salary. So your ALL asked how much you're making before harmonization. Before harmonization, they were making 10,000. After harmonization, the harmonization slashing and took more than 2,000 for him. He came to 7,000. When the government paid the taxes for the man, the money he can take home, when you take, you go to the bank, the money the man can get, that 5,000, I think, change. Now why he can carry home with 5,000? There's somebody, now let me tell you now, the more Echo Bank can take for that money. Because you owe it, you don't see all that paying in the bank, you think he credit from the bank? You owe it some people. That you owe personal money. The other people that don't make that money. Let me tell you now, when you take 200,000 from the bank, or let's say we take 100,000, and you say you will pay over a 6-year period because you represent it, Echo Bank will take 2,000 from you every month. So that 5,000 that government gave you, you gotta take Echo Bank 2,000. If you take 100, for the people who take 200,000, Echo Bank will take almost 4,000. So when the 5,000 go down, Echo Bank take that 4,000, how many there?
All right, folks, in cyberspace, we are back with you here. We wanted to play a few little clips there from Samuel Twer, the finance minister, the chief fiscal officer, the man in whose hands we have our nation's economy. I don't know whether he was campaigning. I don't know whether he was explaining harmonization. I don't know whether he was explaining salary cut. But Martin is here to make sense of it. Martin, I was listening to the finance minister making the case, explaining his harmonization. Has the harmonization helped us so far?
Thank you, Mr. C. The first thing I want to say, there's a difference between harmonization and salary cut. Salary harmonization is different from salary cut. Secondly, their quote-unquote harmonization violates the labor law, specifically Title 18 of the Liberian Code of Law, Section 501 and Section 510, which talk about minimum wage. Now, I'm going to upload the link to an article I wrote relative to this harmonization process. Those who are watching can read through at their lesser time. Okay. I talk about why it is not a form of harmonization, but salary cut. The analysis is right on the podcast. I'm posting the link now. So people can understand what they actually did. What they did was not harmonization, but salary cut. And let me justify why. Now, the reason why people do harmonization for two major reasons. Number one, to bridge the gap in terms of disparity. Number two, to ensure equity or fair play. Because certain group of people doing the same work, the same time, the same hour, but they're getting more money than the other group of people that are doing the same thing, the same time, spending the same time, the same quantity of labor. So the point here is the minister talk about harmonization. How can you talk about harmonization? People that fall far below the minimum wage and you're cutting their salaries and allowances. Is that harmonization? Are you aware that they cut down the salaries and allowances of health workers, security personnel, including police, army personnel, immigration officers? They cut down the salaries and allowances of those people. Can that be described as harmonization? The people are already making less than 150. The minimum wage bill of 2015, probably Minister Samuel Twer hasn't read that bill. They talk about $6 per 8 hours. You're paying the people way to $3. Professional people. You're paying them way to $3. Some of them even getting 2.5. And you're still reducing what they are earning. Yet you call it harmonization. That's salary cut. You're cutting the salaries of the people. That's not harmonization. That's the notation I want to make. The second thing I want to say, when CDC came to power, what did they do? The worst decision they ever took was to balloon the wage bill. With a group of grossly incompetent seditionists, only in the name of accommodating their partisans. When Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was in power, let's go to the 2018-2019 budget. That was the last budget Ellen Johnson Sirleaf crafted before she could turn power over to George Weah. When you look at that budget, the wage bill of the Ellen-led government was $298 million. When 12 others came to power, the wage bill jumped to $330 million. Are you seeing the difference, the disparity? From $298 million to $330 million United States dollars. The first year of the Weah-led government. Why did the wage bill jump from $298 million to $330 million? Because they recruited a lot of seditionists and added them onto those people who were already in government. Under the leadership of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, according to the ECOWAS report, there were just 40,000 employees, public servants or civil servants. When Weah came in less than a year under his administration, that number increased from 40,000 to 70,000, to an extent that the ECOWAS had to express disgust and concern. I listened to the commissioner or the country director of ECOWAS that day. He said, how come from 40,000 to 70,000? But what they didn't know was, as you add more people to the wage bill, you need money. Minister Twe did not even identify revenue sources to fund these additional jobs created by the government. He just recruited them. It was time now to pay. There was no money. So they had to run to harmonization. You see in the basis why they ran to harmonization? They had no reason of reducing the salaries and allowances of your workers. But because they want to accommodate their people, they say, okay, we already put the people on job. We can't remove them again because we say no money. So let's cut down on what the other people we met there had. There and then harmonization came in the picture. So the harmonization policy did not come out of research. It didn't come out of consciousness. It came out of the fact that we needed to accommodate our partisans. And we did not have revenue sources to fund these partisans on the jobs we have created, additional jobs we have created. So we have to cut down on the wages and allowances of people who met in these positions. Today, health workers are on strike. Teachers around the country are about to go on strike. Universities are closing. Colleges are challenged because of the irrational decision on the part of Samuel Twe to institute a program called harmonization. How many of our people have income today? They have lost their income. Purchasing power has reduced. So there are a lot of issues tied to that thing called harmonization. There are a lot of issues. Now, after 2 years, you know what they did? No. They bring the wage bill back. Go and look at this current budget now, which I will deal with impacts. They brought the wage bill down from 330 million to around 287 million. Yeah. So why did you take it up in the first place to 330 million when you didn't have revenue sources to fund such liability created by your government? So we need to be honest about governance. We need to be honest about managing the economy so well that it produces results. Our economy is no longer productive. When your economy is going below 0%, you think your economy is productive.
Martin, are you there? Seems to be having some technical difficulty at his end.
The economy can give you any result. Development, because development is dependent. How can you build roads? How can you build? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, Martin. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. So generally, that entire harmonization thing is a farce.
All right. But what I've been seeing, Samuel Twe was there saying the legislatures are under pressure. I feel for the legislatures. And I don't remember where Samuel Twe is talking about the Liberian people, the civil servants that have not taken pay. When the nurses, the health petitioners were protesting, the government even threatened to replace them. He did not even say, I feed for them, but he's feeding for the lawmakers. So I don't know whose side Samuel Twe is on here, Martin.
Samuel Twe is on the side of corruption and economic sabotage. He's on the side of that corrupt legislature because they are partners in crime. The legislature will protect his interests after stealing 25 million that was intended for mopping up exercise. So you already know whose side Samuel Twe is on. So he's not on the side of the people. Imagine he is sending the people to the legislature. He say when you don't have money in the legislature, you can go to, so go to them. Then later on, we are key and say, go to your man. Samuel Twe say, go to the legislature, we are saying, go to your man. So who do we listen to here? Who do we listen to here? The president is saying, go to your man. Samuel Twe is saying, go to the lawmakers. So why didn't we are tell them to go to the legislature? So this is the issue in the country. It's really hurtful, harmful, for our society.
The other component here, Mountain, is that it's like Mr. Twe was campaigning. Two of the videos that you saw, Thomas Fowler, the CDC candidate, and he even referred to him as the chairman for the Ways and Means in the House of Representatives, and he said he's like the finance minister in the House of Representatives. And Mr. Twe was campaigning clearly, as you could see there, because why he have to have a Thomas Fowler, a member of the House of Representatives, who happened to be his party candidate, Samuel Twe was in violation of the Code of Ethics.
Of course, Mr. C, we've raised the issue of the Code of Conduct several times, times of odd number, right? And they continue to violate the Code of Conduct. As finance minister of the government, you are not to participate in political activities. That is enshrined in section 5.1 and 5.2 of the 2014 Code of Conduct law. The law is very clear. You are not to canvass. You are not to participate in rallies, in congresses, and other political activities. But every day we see Samuel Twe, we see Nathaniel McGill, we see Jefferson Koji, we see Eugene Fagon, and other people in the government campaigning and canvassing without any regard for the Code of Conduct law. This is really, really pathetic. And it speaks volume about who they really are. They are not law-abiding citizens. No, they are not. What example are they showing? The very law you are to protect, you are violating the law. So what example are you showing? So this is the Liberia. We have Honor George Weah, a petit crook, petit bourgeoisie. And if Liberians do not stand up to demand real change, because what we have is not real change, even though they talk about change for hope. But this is not change for hope. This is change for crook. This is not change for hope. This is change for crooks. Crooks are in power. Criminals are in power. And the outcome of criminal being in power is disaster. So our people have become victimized as a result of some of the decisions taken by the Weah-led government. And nothing tells us that anything changing soon. Nothing tells us that anything changing soon, Mr. Sear. Because you have a group of greedy people, misguided elements, who do not even understand how to manage themselves, least to mention managing 5 million people.
All right, Martin, let's play the last clip from Samuel Twe here.
Look, a benevolent dictator, meaning somebody like Paul Kagame, who alone can sit in the room and make a decision can change the country faster. This is what's happening in a lot of the Asian dictatorships where the benevolent dictator just say, okay, I don't hear what the other people say in a view. I won't build that road and I'll put the money there. Because so now you say you want to build a road, so okay, do the land, everybody start democratizing the decision, then you slow. But we need tough decisions. So let's reorient this whole government. The president would now have that resounding mandate for people to be afraid of him. So this is the money that you want to give him this December 8th. Look, a benevolent dictator, meaning somebody like Paul Kagame, who alone can sit in the room and make a decision can change the country faster. This is what's happening in a lot of the Asian dictatorships where the benevolent dictator just say, okay, you know what, I don't hear what the other people say in a view. I won't build that road and I'll put the money there. Because so now you see one build a road, people say, okay, do the land, everybody start democratizing the decision, then you slow. But we need tough decisions. So let's reorient this whole government. The president will now have that resounding mandate for people to be afraid of him. So this is the mandate that you want to give him this December 8th. Look, a benevolent dictator, meaning somebody like Paul Kagame, who alone can sit in the room and make a decision can change the country faster. This is what's happening in a lot of the Asian dictatorships where the benevolent dictator just say, okay, you know what, I don't hear what the other people say in a view. I won't build that road and I'll put the money there. Because so now you see one build a road, people say, okay, do the land, everybody start democratizing the decision, then you slow. But we need tough decisions. So let's reorient this whole government. The president will now have that resounding mandate for people to be afraid of him. This is what's happening in a lot of the Asian dictatorships where the benevolent.
All right, folks, I'm back with you here. Mountain fell off. Mountain fell off. I am back with you. You're just listening to our finance minister. It seems to be Mountain is coming back in here. Seems to be Mountain is coming back in here. Mountain, you are here. Turn your video on.
Oh yeah. Let me receive the signal then and turn on.
All right.
Just send a signal. Just send a signal to me. Let me turn on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So folks, bear with us here. Mountain is by. He will soon turn his video on here. And Mountain, I sent it. Okay. All right. There you have it, folks. Mountain is here. So Mountain, I just played a clip of Mr. Samuel Twer lecturing us about benevolent dictatorship. I don't know why he felt the need to lecture us about benevolent dictatorship and talking about somebody like Paul Kagame. He alone can sit in a room and decide and things can go faster. And that when people start democratizing the decision, it can slow development. What is the brother up to? And further there, he said, you want to give the president a resounding mandate that people can be afraid of him. Is that part of his economic policy here?
He doesn't even have one. Since Twer came to power as Minister of Finance, we have experienced consecutive, consistent deficit. He has no solution to the economic malaise in the country. No solution, absolutely not. He's talking about let's make president. We are a benevolent dictator. Does he understand benevolent dictatorship? Can benevolent dictatorship suffice in the context of democracy or under the canopy of democracy? Firstly, there are parallel meanings of these two words, dictatorship and democracy. They are completely opposite. So how a dictatorship exists within a democracy? So this just tells you that Twer doesn't even know what he can be saying sometimes. He doesn't understand the situation in Rwanda. The situation in Rwanda is quite different from the situation in Liberia. Can you compare to Paul Kagame? Can you compare the two of them? No comparison. The intelligence of Weah is far below Kagame's. The way Kagame thinks, the way Kagame behaves, the way Kagame responds to complex issues, the way Kagame finds solutions to challenges, these things are quite different from Weah's approach or approaches. So these are quite different contexts, environments, geographics, and demographics. So you cannot compare Rwanda to Liberia. You cannot compare Weah to Kagame. So, and let me just be fair, Kagame is not even a benevolent dictator. Twe needs to read further. Probably he does not understand the meaning of benevolent dictatorship. Benevolent dictatorship can exist under a system of totalitarianism. Right. Mm-hmm. It can exist under the system of totalitarianism. That's what Twe does not know. But what is our system of governance in Liberia? We have a unitary system. In a unitary system, vast majority of the people have got the power to decide, probably through election. That's why Article 3 of the Constitution is very clear. The form of government we have is democracy. We have a unitary state. And under this kind of system, the final decision of the state lies with the people. That's why when we go back to Article 1, all power is inherent in the people. So how can all power be inherent in the people and then we have a benevolent dictator being installed as leader of the country? That means let's get all the power to him one time. The Constitution shouldn't say all power is inherent in the people. Say he's on dictatorship. His comment was misplaced, democratic.
All right, thank you, Martin. And let's look at this. Still talking about benevolent dictatorship here. The issue of the salaries. You know, Samuel Twe and the CDC government as a whole. This is one thing. Even Kollie, Samara Kollie, I think that's his name, the deputy finance minister there. He was on radio sometime back talking about you can grade the government A on the payment of salaries. From my following of things, Marcin, I've never seen a government that have received so much protest for protest, almost like in every sector of the economy or from every agency.
I'm telling you.
So
I'm telling you.
How is this government claiming that they're doing well when it comes to salary payment? The last time we saw legislative staffers, we saw people staffers at the third branch of government,
judiciary,
the judiciary.
Yeah.
All right, everywhere people are protesting. So I mean, I don't understand how the proper government can claim that they are doing well when it comes to salary payment. And that is one of the basic responsibility of Samuel Twe, that people in the government employed get paid and on time. Talk to us about these salary issues in Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. C. It is just unfair on the part of this quote-unquote pro government to subject our people to abject poverty. You know, when people work, they should get paid. They should not only get paid, but they should get paid on time. That is what the Constitution says, Article 6 of the 1986 Constitution. Mr. We need to read. Why are they not reading our Constitution? Sometimes it baffles me for Mr. Twe, Samuel D. Twe, a former truck driver in America who has become our chief economist or fiscal manager, to say to civil servants, this government isn't doing well. When you haven't paid those very same civil servants for 11 months, some of them 8 months, some of them 12 months. As I speak to you now, I'm going to name 2 entities where employees have not been paid for 12 months. We are going to the 13th month. I'm going to name LWSC. I got screenshots. I will send those screenshots to you for you to read. I receive these screenshots from chat rooms every day, and they are organizing protests. Liberia Water and Seawall, our corporation. 13 months. Let's go to our RIA, Rabat International Airport. 13 months. Let's go to LHA, Liberia Housing Authority. More than 13 months. At the legislature, they have not received their LD salary for 11 months. This is the 12th month. Just recently, staffers at the judiciary, they were booing the Chief Justice for the first time in the history of Liberia, for a Chief Justice to be booed publicly. by civil servants, simply because of the irresponsible nature of the government in handling financial effects and responding to the plight and welfare of these civil servants. So what I have to say to Mr. Twain, because when they pay for 1 month, after 11 months of no pay, then they will do big press statement. They go have press conference. We don't pay. We don't pay. Y'all can see we don't pay for 1 month after you haven't paid for 12 months. You know, this government, leeches on lies, rhetoric, tautology, all these kinds of stuff. So what do you get from a man like Twain? Twain is not really an economist. If you check his background, he's not really an economist. He doesn't understand the context and complexities of the Liberian economy. He doesn't. Had he understood, by now our economy should be growing above 0%. But since he came, look at how far we are. We are at -3 now. And that thing he's talking, we will rebound 3.2% in 2021 or as at 2021. There are conditions. When somebody tell you this is a forecast or this is a projection or growth forecast, it simply means this figure is an assumption in economics, holding all factors constant, the ceteris principles. If you do this, you will arrive at this. If you don't do this, you will remain here. So we are at -3%. Okay, if we implement those macroeconomic fundamentals and conditions as laid out or put aside by the World Bank, the IMF, and I'm going to give you a few of those conditions. Number one, if we can attract foreign currencies to the economy like before, if we can increase exports, if we can reduce unemployment, if we can increase government spending, if we can deal with tax evasion by instituting appropriate tax reforms, then we will arrive at 3.2% growth forecast in 2021. So there are a lot of conditions attached to this assumption before we can arrive at this assumption, which later will become a conclusion. We must satisfy these conditions. Are we near satisfying those conditions? The answer is no. We are not even near satisfying those conditions. So we might just remain at -3%. I'm not praying for that, but I'm being very practical in terms of what I'm seeing, what I'm looking at currently in the country. You can't even pay civil servants. How will you achieve 3.2% growth in 2021? You are not even attracting foreign currency to the economy. Your export is reducing. Your export is declining, right? Because when you export, you get more foreign currency to the economy, but your export is declining. Even your import is declining as well as a result of COVID-19 and other shocks, macroeconomic shocks. So how do you get at 3.2%? They will never tell you how we will get at 3.2%. Mr. 12 moves around playing politics of the economy. Economics is not politics.
Let me read some comments.
Putting all hands on deck.
All right, let me read some comments.
Recovery, stability, and prosperity for the people.
Let me read some comments. You respond to them, and then we will call it a day. Mountain, we were scheduled to be here. Computer don't freeze on me yet. Let me read this one from Mianta Dakina. You know them now. They come insulting other people and not learning the true sad situation for the nation Liberia. Mianta Dakina again, she writes, wow, and they are clapping for him. And that was when we were playing the audio of Samuel 12 speaking, talking about benevolent dictatorship, or one of the things that he was saying there. This one is from Steve Bole. Again, Samuel 12 is a joker and an unserious man. The economy going nowhere under him. All he wants to do is talk foolishness and steal. Steve Bole, you are making serious charges here. We will bring you in here to answer to this question. Let me see here. Sorry, folks. The one is a little slow moving. It's a little slow moving. This one is from Eugene Mensa, I believe. Elaine removed several people to implore her friends in the name of downsizing. I think that government should sack every person from Ellen government like she did. All right. Let's see this one from Baton Kula. Oh, that comment disappear. Baton Kula. What came before the worst benevolent dictatorship? Let's give this a little more context. Focus on Liberia. Baton Kula, you can go and give it context. The context there is clear. The man was insinuating that we should make our president benevolent dictator. If you disagree, that is up to you. No other context. Um, John Wainwright has subjected himself to campaigner in chief. George Lobo Wright, 12 economy is, oh, that comment, John. 12 economy is a complete joke to the ordinary struggling poor Liberians. Just few comments there from our viewers. Martin, your response, and then we can call it a day.
Thanks to all of the viewers. Thanks to those who commented. We appreciate their contribution to the national discourse. At the end of the day, in the midst of our differences, in the midst of our discontent, in the midst of our disagreement and displeasure, Liberia's interest remains a priority. This is why usually when I have an opportunity to speak on issues of national concern, I take such responsibility very solemn and serious, because our generation is a generation that must set the pace for the next generation. So we have this responsibility of doing what is best in the national interest. So let me just say a few words before we can close, because we are pressed with time. The first thing I want to say, Mr. C, because I have discussed a lot of issues, I want to make some hands-on recommendations. Instead of Mr. Samuel to spend much of his time at intellectual centers in Monrovia, he could begin to think about how we identify other sources of revenue. Because, mind you, the way Liberia used to be supported, that support is not coming any longer. So you need a leadership that thinks. You need a national leadership that innovates, that creates wealth, and not depend on aid, grant, loan, and all this stuff. No, because at the end of the day, now every country is focusing on his or her citizen. So you must be able to maximize your resource potential to create wealth, to create national wealth, to empower your people, to create employment. Who told you so? Our current solution can be found in the construction of markets, feeder roads. Who told you that's the solution? That's not the solution. Building feeder roads, community roads. Where can we get from those projects? The government should be focused on agriculture, value added, value chain, all of these necessary approaches that tend to drive growth. I thought the government should be focusing on energy, because when we have a stable energy system, a lot of citizens will be self-empowered. They don't need to depend on government. That alone will lead or drive growth in the private sector. If we have a stable energy, I'm talking about electricity, a lot of people will create jobs for themselves. They will not even depend on government, because they can do cold water business, they can run cell phone booth, they can do a lot of other things with current. If current is cheaper, affordable, accessible across the country, that would drive even industrialization, because more companies will be convinced and lured by what we have in Liberia to come and invest. But if you take a critical look at the investment portfolio of Liberia right now, who's willing to come and invest? The U.S. just issued a statement warning her citizens not to go to Liberia. Do you know what that means for the investment climate in Liberia? I see them sitting and saying, where did it happen? Where did it happen? For the U.S. government to issue such statement warning its citizens not to go to Liberia because of increased armed robbery, violence, and so forth. Where has that happened before? So investment not coming to the country. They are not making any effort to attract foreign direct investment. So the entire economy is in free fall. It's dead. You can't get anything out of we as economy. It has become twonomics, like most people usually say. So this is our current problem, Mr. C. And if we must move forward, this is the time for us to readjust, for us to retool our economy, for us to focus more on investment and not consumption. Look at what they're doing to the budget. It's just that we don't have time. I will have run through the budget. Yeah. How can you, Mr. Chair, appropriate 89% of your total revenue for recurring expenditure? How? So you're just focusing on consumption. You're just consuming. But what are you investing? What are you investing so that you start begging the IMF, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and other friendly countries for aid? Other countries are investing. Go to Sierra Leone right now. Investment is shifting towards agriculture and infrastructure in Sierra Leone. Exactly. Go to Cote d'Ivoire. Go to other countries. They are investing. They are not just consuming. They are consuming less and investing more. In Liberia, we are consuming more and investing less. When President Weah goes to delegate a few markets, he said, "Oh, proportion. Okay, proportion." Assuming but not admitting, we have those few markets. People go to sell. But the question is, who goes to buy? Who goes to buy? Quantity demanded is a function of income. In economics, quantity demanded is a function of income. Liberia has a free market system. Supply and demand forces interact. So if people don't have money, how do they go to those markets to buy? People must have income. And for people to have income, they must have job. They must have job. Another determinant of quantity demand for people to demand goods and services from those markets they are building. We're talking about price, right? We're talking about price. How does price influence demand? How does price influence demand? Look at the prices right now, very high on the market, and as a result of inflation, prices are very, very high, and people are not working. Purchasing power has reduced. So how do those people go to the markets they are building to buy goods and services?
Thank you,
how?
Martin.
So a lot of things are taking place, and a lot of other things are taking place. So the government needs to think otherwise. The economy is failing, or it has already failed on 12. 12 has got no solution. This is the time for readjustment. This is the time for diversification. This is the time to invest more and consume less. Unfortunately, they are more concerned about building private properties. They are more concerned about riding flashy cars while people suffer, while the economy dwindle and plummet. So I want to say to the government of Liberia, in conclusion, they will have to work overtime, because what I see disaster. I see looming catastrophe. I see the mass suffering of Liberian people. I see a state that is being ruined as a result of bad governance and zero leadership. Going forward, any shift or shake will depend on the collective resolve of the Liberian people. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Martin K. and Kollie there giving his closing comment. But Martin, this is what I have before we leave. And I wrote this a few days ago. And I'm asking the question, why the opposite? Elected to lead and to serve. I repeat, elected to lead and to serve. But looting and stealing, to provide basic social services, but offering misery and mayhem, to protect lives and properties, but taking away lives and destroying families. Why the opposite, I ask? Elected to offer hope to the young and the old, yet hopelessness and disappointment to bring change. The hope for change, they said. But business as usual and more of the same we see. To order the corrupt and persecute them, but killing auditors who refuse to pay. And I'm asking the question, why the opposite? Elected to uphold democratic rights, yet calls others enemies of the state. The right to protest peacefully, you trample. Protesters, you tear gassed. Muslim the media, closing some permanently. And Monty, I'm still asking the question, why
Why?
the opposite? Then peacemaker, now divider in chief, female in chief, yet exchanges searched for job. Population asset, no, I got my family to protect. In fact, go to court. The law will take its course. No, we are all related. Billy, driver Billy, but you are worrying by enforcing the law. And I'm still asking that question, Martin. Why the opposite?
Why?
Yes, the speeches are not eloquent. We knew that. But the decisions are bad. Yet the economy is stupid. Yet the exchange rate is high. The deficit, the inflation rate. Man, boy, you know, we are knows. The young boy knows. The battle cry is not frequent as usual. The man says counting more lepers. The opposite of it all, this is not what they voted for. A poem by me, Anthony C. Why the opposite? On that note, folks, in cyberspace,
And that
this is
poem,
how
that poem is more than brilliant and nationalistic. It invokes the national spirit of brotherhood and fraternity. And I want to say thank you for the poem. Very educative. Thank you. Insightful.
Thank you, Mountain Kollie, folks in cyberspace. This is how we will end this broadcast, The Hour of Politics. I'm always your host, Anthony C. We have the song that says we are all Liberians. Listen to that song and tell me thank you later. Bye-bye, Mountain. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. C. Goodbye.
We are Liberians.